Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be looking through the questions that go along with the passage by Buffy Silverman, They Need Fire. So let's take a look here at the very first question. So the first question says, Part A, which sentence describes the main idea of the text? Remember that we always read our questions 2 times. Which sentence describes the main idea of the text? So just think time for just a minute. What does it mean to be the main idea of a text? Okay, I know that main idea is what the text was mostly about. When I think about main idea, I also think about the words author's purpose. Why the author wrote the text. What did he want us to learn? So let's look at our answer choices. Remember that as we're looking at answer choices, that we read them all the way through. And then as we go back for a second read, that's when we can eliminate answer choices that we know are definitely not correct. So A, some plants and animals need forest fires to grow and survive. B, forest fires kill more plants and animals than they help. C, humans should work to keep the forest fires under control. D, black-backed woodpeckers are the only birds that need forest fires to live. Okay, I know you've probably already done these questions, but this is just a great time to go back through your thinking. So double check. As you're rereading these, I want you to mark out the answers that you know for sure the passage did not talk about, and you know for sure were not the author's purpose or the main idea. Okay, so as I'm going back through these, question A says, or answer A, says some plants and animals need forest fires to grow and survive. If you think back to when we read the passage, there were at least 4 or 5 different examples of times when animals and plants needed the fire to survive or to grow new trees or to help baby birds live. So I know that A was definitely in the passage. So I'm going to put a check mark beside question A. B says forest fires kill more plants and animals than they help. That's kind of the exact opposite of A, and I know that that is not what the author was trying to get us to understand. C says humans should work to keep forest fires under control. That's one that we probably definitely agree with. However, did the author specifically mention that in his passage? If you're like me, you don't remember any parts of the passage that mention humans working to keep them under control. So let's get rid of that one. And then D says black-backed woodpeckers are the only birds that need forest fires to live. So let's take a look back in the passage and see if that was true. I know that we made note yesterday or earlier today of the 2 paragraphs that mention birds. So here as I'm looking back, it does talk about the black-backed woodpeckers, but it also talks about the Kirtland's warblers. That was another kind of bird that needed fires to build their nest and raise their young in the bottoms of those trees. So as we're thinking about that, that's what's wrong with question D, or answer D, is that there was only one type of bird. So that means that if you chose answer A, you were correct. Okay, so now let's look at that part B. We know that part B always asks for some supporting details from the passage. So we're trying to match them up. Remember that strategy of matching from part A to part B. Which detail from the text best supports the answer for part A? A fire blazes through a forest. Flames climb to the tops of the trees. Animals race away. Okay, as I'm reading that one, it seems like that would match to B. So we know that that cannot be the answer. Answer B. Hot fire melts the resin so cones can open. After a fire, the seeds fall out and sprout newly cleared grounds. Or sprout on newly cleared ground. So that supporting detail would definitely support that plants need fires to grow. So I'm going to match that to part A. That would work. Answer C. The insects have tiny sensors hidden between their middle legs so that they can feel heat of a fire more than 30 miles away. Now, as I'm thinking back to the passage, that is a true statement. I remember reading that in the passage. But does that talk about how they need fires to grow and survive? Okay, so I'm thinking that that definitely does not support that part of my answer, so I'm going to mark it out. Okay, and then D. But these low branches start to die when the trees turn about 15 years old. Nests on the ground below are no longer safely hidden. Okay, so that does kind of go back to not the black-backed woodpeckers, but that other kind of bird, the warbler. But again, does this completely talk about... Let's look once more. But these low branches start to die when trees turn about 15 years old. Nests on the ground below are no longer safely hidden. So this answer is actually talking about the harm that happens if you do not have fires. Would you agree with that? Okay, so since that one's talking about what's wrong if you do not have fires, like we saw here in, I believe it was this last paragraph, guys. Right here where the trees were 15 years old and then the fires burned out the underbrush, so they needed fire. So that leaves us with answer B. So if you chose answer B for part B, you were correct. And guys, don't forget, if there's any of these that you ever disagree with my answer on, we know that all of these are kind of debatable and you may have a different idea than I do. So don't be afraid to comment and maybe make a suggestion and we can look back at a question, okay? So question number 3, how is the information in this text organized? How is the information in this text organized? A, the author discusses the damage caused by forest fires and then all the good they do. So first damage, then good. Let's check and see if that's true. So here, as I'm looking at the very first paragraph, we may note that he automatically starts talking about how animals and plants thrive after a fire. And then the rest was also talking about positives. So I'm not sure that that can be our answer. Let's keep looking. B, the author describes different kinds of forest fires and the good and bad they can do. So let's see if he described different kinds of forest fires. As I'm looking back, he just says a fire blazes through a forest. As we're looking back through, I don't see anything about different kinds of forest fires. Okay, he does talk about different kinds of animals that are helped through forest fires. C, the author discusses the different plants and animals that are harmed by forest fires. So think time for just a minute. Did the author talk about harms, or did he talk about D, describing different plants and animals that benefit or receive good, positive things from fire? Okay, so we know that it cannot be A or B. So we're trying to decide between C and D. Okay. In my opinion, I think the answer is D, because as I'm looking through the passage, every paragraph mentions something positive, a benefit of these forest fires. So we have a lot of different evidence for benefits of the fire. So last question, question number 4. What needs to happen between when a forest catches fire and when insects and birds return to the forest. What needs to happen between when a forest catches fire and when insects and birds return to the forest? So as I'm thinking back, I am not remembering this in the passage. So let's see what our answer choices are and dig back in to see what we can find. So answer A, the forest needs to completely burn down. B, the fire needs to die down so insects and birds don't get burnt. That definitely makes more sense than A, doesn't it? A doesn't really make a lot of sense. I was thinking that if the forest was completely burnt down, there wouldn't be any habitats for these animals. C, the fire needs to grow hot enough to benefit the insects and birds. That's another one that I kind of have a question about. Or D, the forest needs to grow again after a large forest fire. Okay. So as we're thinking back through our passage, it says that here at the very, very bottom, do you remember that part where it says, so birds can search for spots where a fire recently burned and young trees grow? If young trees are growing, then that would mean that the forest needs to grow again, and not that the animals are getting burned, because I would think that the animals, if they got out safely, that they would know not to go near a burning fire, you would hope. So that means that we have eliminated A, B, and C, and we're choosing D because the fire would need to grow again, so there are new trees and new things like that for the animals to eat and live in for their habitats. Okay, so guys, again, remember that if you have any questions about answers 1 through 4, just to comment on this video and we can discuss those. Okay, so question number 5 says, how are the effects of the fires different from what people expect from forest fires? So how were the effects different? As I'm thinking about this, just a quick brainstorm map. So I'm thinking about the effects. I'm thinking that there were positive things, right? I heard things about positive things. I heard things like seeds could be spread when the fire opened a pine cone. I heard things about it getting rid of the poison in the tree. As I'm thinking back to the passage, I remember things like baby birds were safe because that poison was gone. Okay, we had a lot of different positive things happening, a lot of different positive effects because of these forest fires. But I know that people usually think it's all negative. So as you're thinking about this quick write, think about this brainstorm map and talk about what people usually think versus what the author proved to be true. Okay, I would love if you would share just a picture of your response to this question with us. I love to see your writing. Thank you so much for sharing in this video with me and helping out. We'll talk to you later. Bye.